We're going to be taking a tour around Cincinnati on Interstate 275. Come on, let's go! Alright everyone, today we're going to be doing another 275, this time the Interstate 275 in the greater Cincinnati area. And this Interstate 275 is the longest beltway in the entire country, at just under 84 miles long. It is also one of two 3-digit interstates to enter into 3 different states. The other one is being Interstate 295 over in the Philadelphia area. And Interstate 275 has some pretty average signage in the 3 states that it enters. And it has some pretty decent scenery. So let's get started with Interstate 275. But first, you're watching TheDerpHog, where I make highways content on all sorts of different topics. If you've been enjoying it, be sure to hit that like button. And if you've been really enjoying it, be sure to smash that subscribe button so you're notified on all future videos. And if you really want to help out the channel, become a member today where you get custom cool emojis, early access to future videos, along with 1 free exit request per month. And if you don't want to become a member, you can always just pay $3 for a intersection request in future videos. Those highways will be listed down in the description below, and I'll make sure to shout you out when that video releases. So let's get on with the highway. As you can see here, this is the map of Interstate 275 in the greater Cincinnati area, as it makes a wide loop around the city itself. And this colored portion down here is the part throughout that I've been on personally. So with that, I'm going clockwise around Cincinnati. So we begin here at the interchange with its parent, along with Interstate 71 here, where Interstate 75 and 71 are getting good control cities. And we could see that Interstate 275 has a control city itself, getting signed west for the airport, which is a good choice. And after passing that interchange, our mileage does reset, and this is the best mile marker 0 that I could find. Sadly, there isn't a mile 0.0 mile marker. And our first exit after passing that interchange is exit 2 for the Manola Pike and 1 mile. Here meet the exit for the airport, Kentucky Highway 212, and we can see that Interstate 275 just gets like a through traffic sort of sign with nothing signed. So let us see what we're signed on Kentucky 212. We're getting signed west to Indiana. I mean that's a bit vague, but I would like to see maybe like Lawrenceburg or Indianapolis instead, because like I said, that to Indiana is just kind of vague. Here's my own exit for the Kentucky Highway 237 exit getting signed for Hebron. And let us take a look to see what we're signed for on Kentucky 237. It looks like we actually do get a proper city in Indiana, Lawrenceburg. Here we pass by exit 11, which will take you over to Kentucky 20, and will also take you over to the Creation Museum, which is a pretty cool place to check out. Even if you're not religious, I'd still recommend visiting this place. It was pretty awesome when I went last year. And here we are going over the Ohio River and into the state of Indiana here. And here's my own picture of the Indiana welcome sign. And here's again one of my own pictures of the US Highway 50 exit getting signed for Greendale, Lawrenceburg, and Aurora, Indiana. And let's take to see what we're signed for on US Highway 50. I mean, we're not getting signed for Ohio, which it does make more sense in Indiana because we're only in Indiana for like another mile or so. So I think Ohio being signed here is okay. And here we get a laundry list of exits on a mileage sign. I don't know why the text is really small, but we can see that we're going to be meeting Interstate 74 in 11 miles. Here is my own picture of part of the Ohio welcome sign. And our first exit in Ohio is for Kibley Road, and if we take a look on Kibley Road, we can see that we're now getting signed 275 for Cincinnati, which is, I think, an alright choice. Here we meet with Interstate 74, and this is the furthest point that I've been on Interstate 275. But we're going to be following 74 eastbound with US Highway 52 and Interstate 275. Here's where we split off from Interstate 74 as we're now getting signed for Dayton, which is a good choice. And here we are at the Ronald Reagan Highway. We can see that we're now getting signed at 275. Here we are meeting US Highway 27, getting signed for Coleraine Avenue. I'm not really a big fan of, sure, Coleraine Avenue could be for southbound US 27 because that'll take you back into Cincinnati. But I would like to see Oxford, Ohio here on this sign too. Here we meet with US Highway 127, and unlike its parent, it actually does get some control cities, Hamilton and Mount Healthy. I wonder if there's a Mount Unhealthy somewhere. Here we meet with Ohio 4, getting signed for Fairfield and Springdale. And if you want to check out a video on Ohio 4, it's in the top right corner here. It is one of 4 state highways that I did for my channel's 4th anniversary. Here we meet with Interstate 75 once again, and it's getting signed for Dayton and Cincinnati respectively. So let us take a look to see what we're signed for on our parent this time. It looks like we're now getting signed for Columbus, which is a good choice. On our way to Interstate 71, we meet with US Highway 42 here, and it's getting signed for Mason and Sharonville. And at the 71 junction, we just now get a pull-through sign for just Interstate 275. I'm not a big fan of that. That should be maybe just Kentucky because, well, I don't know what suburb we would sign here because there's not a whole lot of suburbs in this part of the Cincinnati metro area. Here we are meeting with US Highway 22 and Ohio Route 3, and if we take a look on US 22, Interstate 275 is now getting signed for Kentucky, which I think is a good choice because, like I said earlier, what suburb are you going to sign because there's not a whole lot in this part of the Cincinnati metro. Here we meet with Ohio Route 28 and the exit for Ohio 450, which will take you over to US 50 because there's no direct interchange with US 50. And we can see that we're still getting a pull-through for 275 for Kentucky. Here we meet Ohio Highway 32, and we now get 275 south to US Highway 52. Here we meet with US Highway 52, and US 52 and 275 are going to have a short concurrency here. And here we split off from US Highway 52, which will take you into downtown Cincinnati. And we can see that we're now getting signed Interstate 275 to 471. Since we're already basically right at the Ohio and Kentucky border, why not just sign Newport because of Interstate 471, or do Newport in the airport because people will probably be taking this road now to head towards the airport and Newport instead of just Kentucky itself. Here we are crossing over the Ohio River and back into the state of Kentucky. And here's our exit for Interstate 471, getting signed for Newport and Cincy. And we can see that 275 is now getting signed for the airport, which is a good choice. Here we meet with Kentucky Highway 9 and the northern terminus of the Ashland to Alexandria Highway. Yes, that's what that AA highway stands for. Meanwhile, Ashland or Alexandria is not mentioned at this exit for some reason. I mean, I do like that Maysville, but maybe you could do Alexandria and Maysville. And on Kentucky 9, we are now getting signed for the airport still. And that is my own picture. And here's my own picture of the Cincinnati skyline, as you can faintly see it as you're crossing over the Licking River on the eastern side of Kentucky. And here's my own picture of 275, meaning with US 25, 42, and 127, as they're all known as the Dixie Highway here. And we end right back where we started at the 75 and 71 and 275 interchange. So with that, we're going to be turning around and going counterclockwise on Interstate 275. So we begin here at the same exit that we saw going clockwise on 275, And this time, Interstate 275 has no control city, while 71 and 75 are getting Cincinnati, Louisville, and Lexington respectively. And I did manage to also get a picture of this exit, but sadly I only managed to get the 71 and 75 side of it and not the entire exit. Here we meet with US 25, 42, and 127 once again, and 275 is now getting signed for nothing still. I mean, I would prefer to see, once again, like Newport or Alexandria, not just 275 by itself. Here we meet with Kentucky Highway 9 and the Ashland to Alexandria Highway once again. And on that exit, we're just getting 275 east to Interstate 471. Here we meet Interstate 471, and we also meet the road that will take you down to US Highway 27 here. And Interstate 275 is still getting signed east for nothing, which I do not like at all. Here we are crossing it back into Ohio after crossing over the Ohio River. And at the 52 interchange, we can see that 275 has a control city once again, and we're now getting signed for Columbus, which is a great choice. Here we meet with Ohio 32, and this time 2 Interstate 71 has been added to our sign. Here we meet with Ohio 450 once again, which will take you over to US 50. And here we meet with US Highway 22, and we are going to get closer to Interstate 71 here. And at the Interstate 71 junction, we just get another pull-through sign for Interstate 275, getting west for nothing. Come on, man. Why don't you put like Dayton on there because of Interstate 75? Here we meet with US Highway 42, getting the same control cities that we saw going clockwise around. Here we meet with our parent once again, Interstate 75, getting signed for Dayton and Cincinnati respectively. And this time around, we do get an actual pull-through for 275 west for Indianapolis. Here we meet with Ohio 4 once again, getting signed for Fairfield and Springdale. Here we meet with US 127, getting the same control cities like we saw going clockwise. And here we meet with US 27 once again, and it just gets the Kentucky treatment. But this time Interstate 275 does have 274 for Indianapolis. Here we meet with Interstate 74, and we're now going to have a short concurrency with it, as we're getting its westbound control city. And here's where we split off from Interstate 74, and we're just getting signed south 275 for Kentucky. I mean, Interstate 275 also does enter into Indiana for a brief couple miles, so maybe you can do Lawrenceburg, Indiana, and Kentucky, because I would like to see at least Indiana get some recognition and not just be completely skipped over. Here we are entering into the state of Indiana, and here we have the US Highway 50 exit. And here we get a laundry list of exits on a mileage sign once again, and we can see that State Route 20 is in 3 miles, the Greater Cincinnati Airport is 13, and 71 and 75 are another 15 miles from us. Here we're crossing over the Ohio River once again and back into Kentucky. And Kentucky also has a mileage sign here, with the airport being 10 miles and 71, 75 being 12. And here we get a sign telling us that the Creation Museum is at exit 11. And once again, I do recommend visiting that place. Here is the exit for the Creation Museum, Kentucky 3608. And here we meet Kentucky Highway 237, getting signed for Hebron. And it looks like this direction is just a normal exit instead of a AB exit. And Kentucky 212 is also a normal interchange, which will take you to the airport. And let us see what we're signed for on the airport now, because apparently there is no pull-through for this exit. And we can see that we're not getting the 71 and 75's control cities, which is once again a good choice, because there's not much road left or any suburbs between here and 75 to sign. And we once again ended right back where we started, counterclockwise here at the 71 and 75 interchange. So with that, we can end Interstate 275 and we move on to the way it should be. So these are all the places that I think should be signed on 275 in the Cincinnati area. Going clockwise, I would start with the airport. Then I would do Lawrenceburg / Indiana, so Indiana does get some recognition. Then after US 50, I would do Indianapolis for 74. Then Dayton after the 74 split. Then after meeting 75, I would do Columbus because of 71. And after Interstate 71, I would do straight up Kentucky because what are you going to sign between the Kentucky line and Interstate 71? There's not that many suburbs out there to sign on 275. So therefore, I'm just going to go straight with Kentucky. And once you meet US 52, I would just go straight for Newport for Interstate 471. And after 471, I would just do Louisville and Lexington because of 71 and 75. And going counterclockwise, I would start with Newport because of either Kentucky 9 or Interstate 471. And then after 471, go straight for Columbus like Ohio does. Then do Dayton, then Indianapolis, then Lawrenceburg / the airport, so Indiana gets some love. Then once you enter back into Kentucky, just the airport. And after the airport exit, I would do the Cincinnati, Louisville, and Lexington thing like they do at the airport exit. So that ends Interstate 275. Thank y'all so much for watching this short episode on Interstate 275 in the greater Cincinnati area. I hope you got to learn a little bit more about this highway. And if you haven't traveled on it before, I hope you do get to someday because it is a pretty cool and interesting road, or at least the part that I've been on. So with that, here are my next few highways. If you have any intersection requests for any of these upcoming highways, except for the special gimmick video, please let me know down in the comment section below and I'll make sure to shout you out once these highways release. So thank you guys for watching and I'll see y'all next week in Nashville as we do its loop. Bye!